Hi, Cinematic Enthuse here, March 29th, 2024, and this is kind of a follow-up to the previous video I just did where I left off with Midnight. I had just finished talking about Midnight, the film with Claudette Colbert and Donna Michi, and that's from 1939, so I forgot to mention that that's a really great movie, and it's probably a four-star movie, so if you're really wanting to watch an awesome screwball comedy from the classic era, you can't lose with Midnight. It's wonderful. Okay, so moving on, and again, you can find those links at my link tree, which is, if you're on Instagram or TikTok, is in the bio. If you're on YouTube, I'll post it in the comments section. So let's see, I've got four movies here. This first movie was called We're Not Married from 1952, and it's kind of like one of these like little vignettes, like maybe like 15 minutes of one story and another 15 minutes of another story, etc., etc., etc. And it involves like I'd say five or six different couples, and this isn't really a spoiler alert because it's kind of like the whole hook of the movie is basically where they get married at this recently appointed justice of the peace or whatever you call that, whoever can marry people. And he didn't realize that his appointment didn't begin till the first of the year, so he started marrying people during Christmas. So they weren't technically married. So I think there's like six couples or four or five or six couples that all have to go back and get married again. And they all have different situations. And what I thought was interesting about this movie was, first off, I was expecting not to like it because it's from the 50s, and I've said this before in an earlier video where I kind of have a bad attitude about 50s comedies because in general, unless I know them, like I'm already familiar with them, I tend to like the 30s and 40s better. But anyway, so this one I thought was really good. It has a lot of big names in it. Ginger Rogers, Marilyn Monroe, David Wayne. Some of you might know David Wayne from, he was in that 70s Ellery Queen. He played the father in that. But yeah, he also was in a lot of movies, I guess, in the 50s and 60s. But anyway, he's in it. And of course, the wonderful Eddie Bracken, if you're familiar with any of Preston Sturges's movies, which we'll get to real soon. Eddie Bracken is great. Love him. And a very young Mitzi Gaynor, who I don't think I've ever seen outside of a musical before. So she's wonderful. She's great in it. And there's some great character actors that you might recognize. I think even is Gene Lockhart in this movie? I think he is. I think he plays a judge. I've seen so many movies in the last week, so I know he was in one of them. He tends to play like either a judge or an aristocrat or something, and I always like him. He's fun. But it's probably one of the funniest. I literally laughed out loud when I was watching this. There was a scene with Ginger Rogers, and I can't remember the other guy's name, but they're married, or they're not married, but they think they're married. They play this couple that are it's the first storyline. They play a couple who are a radio couple pretending to be happily married. And some of the advertisements they have to go through are just really hilarious. So you'll love that if you like old radio, or if you just like making satire kind of fun, especially if you've seen a lot of commercials, which we all have. I think you'll enjoy this. So definitely at least a 3-star movie. That's a good one. And it's a short one, and it's a lot of fun. Never Say Goodbye, 1946. I can take it or leave it. It's Errol Flynn, who I totally want to like. Errol Flynn's one of these guys that I like. I like him on camera. I've seen several of his swashbuckler movies. I've seen, there's one where he was a slave, and I can't remember the name of it. It's really famous. And I think he's, wonderful. There's a couple, and I misquoted this last time. I was in an earlier video. I said that he was in a movie called The Feminine Touch. He wasn't in The Feminine Touch. He was in, and now I can't remember the name of it, but it wasn't called that. The Perfect Specimen. That was the name of the movie. And that was the movie he did with Joan Blondell. Now, again, I don't think he has come close to that performance level. So I've seen him in a total of 3 screwball comedies, and the only one I've really liked him in is The Perfect Specimen, which I'll obviously have to get to at some point. This one is Never Say Goodbye, 1946. It's kind of a family film, divorce, family, small child. So it's a little more domestic, in akin to the, We're Not Married. That's obviously domestic too, but it's a little more on the couple level. This has got more of a family vibe. To be honest, I kind of dozed off halfway through. Sometimes that's the timing of when I watch these movies, but it also, is kind of an indicator of kind of boredom. So, the little girl who's in it is quite good. She's a good little actress. Yeah, it was just kind of there. Okay, so that's all I can say. But, give it a try. The Housekeeper's Daughter. This one is a good one if you're in the mood for kind of a gangster. It's not really a mystery. It's more of like a crime gangster screwball because it's directed by Hal Roach. And what surprised me about it is whenever I know I'm going to see a Hal Roach movie, like if I see his name pop up, I always know there's going to be tons of, or at least a significant amount of witty dialogue. There's going to be a ton of kind of old school, like maybe a pratfall or two, because he came from silent comedy. So he tends to have that real kind of fast paced comedy that's associated with Paramount or, those early years. And this one is a little more, it's not serious, but it's a little more crime serious. It's still fun, still certainly fun, but it's a little more of that Thin Man vibe, only it's starring the wonderful Joan Bennett, who is fabulous. I'm a huge Joan Bennett fan, and she really carries this movie. There's a couple other people in it that are quite good as well, that I'm just not remembering their names right now. But there's some good supporting cast as well. But Joan Bennett is definitely thumbs up. This is definitely a 3-star movie, which 3 stars for me is you should see it, And then Lady in a Jam. I was going to end with that one today. This is one that's on the standard screwball comedy list that I always list. You can refer to it. It's a Criterion Forum list that is referred to from a book written by these 2 guys. I can never remember their names, but it's from a famous academic book. Lady in a Jam, definitely a good movie. Definitely worth seeing because Irene Dunne is fabulous. And if you're a screwball fan, you love Irene Dunne because she was in Awful Truth with Cary Grant. She's been in Theodore Goes Wild is another classic screwball, and she just runs the show. This is a one-woman show for her. Patrick Knowles pops up again. You've heard me talk about him in It's Love I'm After and a couple other movies. He's actually more tolerable in this movie than other movies, in my opinion, but he's a very dry kind of actor. I thought it was just his characters the other times I watched him, but it wasn't. He's just a dry actor. So I would definitely watch this one. This is one of those social classes movies where you see a rich person having to deal with losing their money. So if you want to have a little bit of schadenfreude about the billionaire class, watch this one, Lady in a Jam. But Irene Dunne is fabulous in it. And if she can make such a horrible character fun, she's a great actress. So I would definitely watch this because I liked her the whole time, even though she played this kind of questionable character. Ralph Bellamy is also in it, and he's wonderful. And there's a little girl that's in it as well. Wonderful child actresses. So signing off for now, and have a great weekend.